Okay. So, good day everyone. Last time, we've tackled about, na-discuss na natin about yung principles of drug action, which is na-tackled by the group 2. Today, we will be discussing the administration of aerosolized. We will be discussing about administration of aerosolized agents, which is the chapter 3. Next po. Ayan. For this topic, these are the learning objectives. First is define terms that pertains to administration of aerosol agents. Second is define aerosol therapy. Third is select an appropriate aerosol medication nebulizer on the basis. Fourth is discuss aerosol particle size and deposition in the lungs. Fifth is differentiate between the types of aerosol devices. Describe the clinical application of aerosol devices and recommend the use of various aerosol devices. Next po. Ayan, aerosol therapy. So, the aerosol therapy, it refers to the delivery of tiny liquid or solid particles into the lungs. So, hindi lang liquid yung dinedeliver ng aerosol therapy, but also solid particles, no? And aerosol therapy is one of most effective methods since ito yung most effective methods for treating respiratory disease kasi dinedeliver niya yung medicine directly sa lungs natin. Unlike sa mga tablets or injection, kailangan pa nilang dumaan sa mga bloodstream natin para lang makuha yung effect ng medication. No? So, ayan. Next. Okay, so there are three main uses of aerosol therapy. First is humidification of dry inspired gases uses bland aerosols. So, ayan, first is humidification. Kailangan to kapag tumatanggap tayo ng aerosol therapy because it keeps our airways moist and prevent dryness or irritation, especially sa mga patients na under oxygen therapy or tumatanggap ng oxygen therapy. Then, second is improve mobilization and clearance of respiratory secretions, including sputum induction, using bland aerosols of water and hypertonic or hypotonic saline. So, mobilization and clearance of secretion is to help loosen and remove mucus buildup in the airways. Third is delivery of aerosolized drugs to the respiratory tract. So, ayun, it delivers medication that acts directly sa lung tissues natin. So, yung ganitong method kasi, tulad nga ng sinabi ko kanina, mas nag-work sila faster than the tablets or sa ibang klaseng medication kasi hindi na sila dumadaan ng digestive system natin or sa bloodstream. Kundi, like, nag-react na sila or they act directly sa lungs natin. They allow smaller doses of medicines para i-act yung effects nila sa respiratory airways natin. Like for example na lang is yung mga patient with asthma, no? Gumagamit sila ng mga nebulizers for quick relief because yung bronchodilator medicine, they directly opens up the airways instead of traveling through the whole body. Next. Next is physical principles of inhaled aerosol drug. Next slide po. Ayan. What is an aerosol? So, aerosol is the suspension of liquid or solid particles between 0.001 and 100 micrometers in diameter in a carrier gas. Ideal size for pulmonary diagnostic and therapeutic application is between 1 to 10 micrometer. And yung smaller particles reach deeper, then bigger particles stay in the upper airways. Wait lang. Ayan. Next is smaller particles reach deeper, bigger particles stay in the upper airway. So, sabi dito, an aerosol is a mixture of liquid or tiny solid particles that is suspended in air. So, these particles, they are very small. Nagre-range sila ng nagsasabi dito, nagre-range sila from 0.001 to 100 micrometers in size. So, kung i-imagine natin yung size nila, like tulad na ng strand ng hair natin, yung kung gaano kakapal or katik yung hair natin, yung hair kasi natin is, yung thickness nila is about 70 micrometers thick. So, micrometers yung hair kasi natin, they're about 70 micrometers thick. Kaya, kung isipin natin, yung mga aerosol particles, they are much finer. And, ayan, the ideal particle size for medical aerosols is between 1 to 10 micrometers since yung mga smaller particles, mas nare-reach nila yung deeper parts ng lungs natin kaysa sa mga larger particles. Kasi, yung mga larger particles, they usually natatrap lang sila sa mouth or di kaya sa throat natin. Next. Ayan, example lang din pala dun kanina, kapag din, hindi na pala. Okay. Next is the key aerosol properties. There are 3 major properties that determines how effective an aerosol treatment will be. First is stability, describing the tendency of aerosol particles to remain in suspension. So, it refers to how long yung particles na nagsistay siya without settling or sticking to surfaces. Next is penetration, referring to the depth within the lungs reached by the particles. So, it explains how deeply the particles can travel into the lungs. Kung gaano ba siya kalalim, gaano ka-depth, or gaano kalalim yung tina-travel ng medication, ng medicine. Ng aerosol particles, I mean. Next is deposition. It describes the process by which particles deposit out of suspension to remain in the lung. So, this is where the particles finally settle inside the airways. Next. Ayan. Device efficiency. There are old devices which only 10 to 15% of medicine reaches the lungs. Then yung newer devices naman, up to 30 to 50% of medicine. Sabi ko to dyan. Malabas ka na. Then, yung mga devices naman, up to 30 to 50% lang delivery. So, yung mga older aerosol devices, meron silang mga low efficiency, no? Kasi sabi dito, 10 to 15% of medication lang yung nare-reach nila sa lungs natin. Then, because yung the rest would be lost in the mouth, throat, or device itself. Then, yung mga newer inhalers and nebulizers, meron sila mga improved efficiency to around 30% to 50%, meaning mas maraming medicine yung na i-deliver sa lungs natin. Next. Ayan. Next is aerosol particle size distribution. So, not all aerosol particles, hindi lahat ng aerosol particles is magkakapareho ng size. So, there are these terms, it describes kung paano nga ba nagkakaiba yung sizes ng mga aerosol particles. So, first is count mode. This is the most frequently occurring particle size in the distribution. So, ito yung mga common particle size sa mga mist, sa mga aerosol particles, ganyan. Then, next is yung count median diameter or yung CMD. It is the particle size above and below which 50% of the particles are found. So, half the particles are smaller, then yung half ng particles is larger. Then, we have mass median diameter or mass median aerodynamic diameter. It is the particle size above and below which 50% of the mass of the particles are found. So, ito naman, it divides the mass of the aerosol equally. So, half of the total drug mass is in the particle smaller size than the other size. Next slide. Next, we have the GSD or the geometric standard deviation. It measures. This is the measure of the dispersion of the distribution. This ratio determines how spread out the particles are in relationship to their size. So, ayan, it shows how, yung sa GSD naman, it shows how spread out or varied the particle sizes are. And sabi dito, sa slide, larger particles contain more drugs because they have bigger volume. Pero kasi, ayun nga, kapag larger particles, they carry more medicine, pero they don't go very deep. While yung mga smaller ones naman, they travel faster or they travel mas deep yung pag-travel nila, pero they carry less drug per particle. Kasi nga, kumbaga mas mabilis yung pag-travel ng maliliit na particles ng aerosol. Pero, less yung drug na, kumbaga, mas less yung drug na kine-carry nila kasi maliit lang yung volume nila. For example is sa mga may asthma, kapag gumagamit sila ng nebulizer, ang mas effective kasi na particle size is around 1 to 5 micrometers kasi mas napepenetrate nila yung lower airways. Next slide po. Ayan. Next is measurement of particle size distribution. So, aerodynamic diameter, it is the diameter of unit density, spherical particle having the same terminal settling velocity as the measured particle. So, dito, yung aerodynamic diameter, it describes how the particles or the aerosol particles behave in the air. So, kung paano siya nag-move, paano siya nagsisettle, and paano siya nade-deposit sa lungs natin. And to ensure yung effectiveness ng aerosol devices, there are 3 common methods. First is cascade impactor. So, it separates the particle by size multiple stages. Then, the laser scanning naman, it measures particle size using light patterns. Later, makikita natin yung picture ng cascade impactor, yung instrument na ginagamit sa cascade or yung method na sinasabi natin cascade impactor. So, yung mga particles kasi, they are, this cascade impactor, it separates particles based on size as they passes through several layers. So, yung mga larger particles is na kumbaga nasa strain na sila sa taas bago pa sila makarating sa baba. So kapag nasa lower part na sila is mga smaller particle na lang yung natitira. Then, laser scattering uses beams of light to measure how particles scatter light. So, it helps determine the size of particles accurately. And sabi dito, MMAD is calculated from the collected drug in each stage. Ayan. So, yung mga kumbaga, tinitignan nila if yung mga particles ba is nasa ideal range sila para ma-deliver mismo sa lungs natin. Next slide. Ayan. Ayan yung instrument na ginagamit for cascade impactor, yung sinabi kanina. Dito sa upper part, ayan yung mga mixed particles. Papasok siya dyan, then, ayan. So, dito sa upper part kasi ng instrument is, yung mga large particles na pumapasok is nafi-filter siya pababa para, ayan, final filter. Pababa, para kapag nasa pinakababa na siya, yung nilalabas niya na is smaller particles. So, yung mga smaller particles na yun na yung nagpe-penetrate deeper sa lower airways natin. So, ayan, yung aerosol size distribution. Ito yung mga ideal size for different stage sa respiratory airways natin. So, ayan, yung kumbaga, itong instrument na to, or itong method na to, ginagamit siya usually ng mga companies before sila launch ng new inhaler, ganyan, bago sila mag-market ng mga new inhaler devices. Kasi kino-confirm nila na yung made-deliver nung devices is 1 to 5 micrometers para mas ma-reach nila yung lungs, mas ma-reach, mas deep yung nare-reach nila. Next. Ayan. Particle size and deposition. It is a major factor influencing aerosol deposition in the lung is the particle size and deposition. A major factor influencing aerosol deposition in the lung is particle size. So, ayun nga, tulad nga ng sinabi ko kanina pa ulit-ulit, super laking factor ng size ng medicine or ng aerosol particles pagdating sa deposition kasi ayun, kapag malaki yung size ng aerosol particles, hindi sila nakakapag-penetrate. Kumbaga, hindi malalim yung nape-penetrate nila. And then, the upper airway, or yung nose and mouth, filters almost 100% of particles larger than 10 to 15 micrometer. Then, the particles, 5 to 10 micrometer. Then, the particles 5 to 10 micrometer mostly deposits in the upper airway and central airways. Ayan, yung mga first 6 generation, sila na yung nagfi-filter ng mga 5 to 10 micrometer size of aerosol particles. Then, the optimal lung deposition occurs with 3 micrometers. Optimal lung deposition occurs with 3 micrometer particles during slow, deep inhalation. With proper technique, particles are evenly distributed throughout the 23 lung generation. So, ayan, sabi dito, kumbaga it explains here yung um, kung paano nafi-filter yung aerosol particles kapag nag-inhale tayo. Ini-inhale natin yung medicine, ganyan. So, for example, is yung mga patient with COPD. Sabi kasi dito, with proper technique, no? Yung mga particles is nadidistribute sila evenly throughout sa lung generation or throughout our uh, respiratory airways. For example is sa mga patient na may mga COPD, kapag nagre-receive sila ng aerosol therapy, yung pag-inhale nila is mas mabagal. Kumbaga, they inhale slowly using a spacer para more medicine, para mas madami yung medicine na magpe-penetrate sa lungs nila. Next. Ayan. Fine particle fraction. Fine particle fraction replaces the old term Fine practical fraction replaces the old terms Fine practical fraction replaces the old terms respirable fraction dose. So yung FPF or yung fine practical fraction, it tells us what percentage of aerosol particles are small enough para ma-reach yung lower lung natin. So normally, yung mga particles na nag-penetrate sa lower lungs natin is smaller than 5 micrometers. Ayan. It refers to the percentage of aerosol particles is small enough to reach the lower lungs, and traditionally they are considered less than 5 to 6 micrometers, but newer definition focus on 1 to 3 micrometers. Then, sabi dito, actual deposition varies by age, disease, and breathing pattern. So, itong fine particle fraction, it is an important measure of how effective a device is in delivering medication. Pero hindi lahat ng patient kasi is parang nakaka-receive ng same result. Kasi nga, tulad nung, may mga factor din kasi, like nakalagay dito sa iba pa, pwedeng magkakaiba yung nare-receive nilang result because of their age, because of their lung condition, and yung pattern ng paghinga nila. Kasi, pwedeng maapektuhan nun yung medicine kung paano, kumbaga naapektuhan nun yung medicine kung paano siya mag-deposit sa loob ng lungs natin. For example na lang is yung mga elderly patient, syempre weak yung breathing nila. So, hindi nila nakukuha or they don't get as much medication dun sa loob ng lungs nila compared sa mga young and healthy people na gumagamit nung same inhaler. Then, we have the particle size and therapeutic effect. So, ayan, it explains kasi that each particle size is meron sila mga specific target area sa respiratory system natin. Yung mga 10 micrometers, they targets nose and throat. Yung nasopharynx or oropharynx. Like for example is yung nasal spray. So, yung mga nasal spray or yung mga, anong tawag dun? Yung mga decongestants, mga ganyan. Then, for 5 to 10 micrometers naman, they stays in central airways. yan, is still high throat deposition. Then, yung mga 2 to 5 micrometers, they reaches lower respiratory tract and they are ideal for bronchodilators. So, mga ginagamit to sa mga uh, may asthma, ganyan. Then, yung mga 0.8 to 3 micrometers naman, they reaches terminal bronchioles and alveoli. They are ideal naman to for deep lung drugs. Yung mga 0.83, Next is the 0.8 to 3 micrometers. They reaches terminal bronchioles and alveoli and ideal for deep lung drugs like. So, itong mga 0. Yung mga aerosol particles that ranges to 0.8 to 3 micrometers, they are good for drugs that need deep lung absorption like antibiotics or antifungal agents. So, for example is yung mga nasal sprays na ginagamit for allergies. They are designed with larger particles para magstay sila sa nasal passages natin. While yung mga bronchodilator naman, nagpaproduce sila ng smaller particles para ma-reach nila yung bronchi and bronchioles. So, yun yung ina-explain ng particle size and therapeutic effect. That means, yung mga particle size, may mga specific target area sila na ginagamit din for therapeutic effect. Next. Next is the mechanism of deposition. Kung paano ba yung mga aerosol particles is nade-deposit sa lungs natin. So there are 3 physical mechanisms usually that usually are considered for aerosol particle deposition in the human lung. First is inertial impact. First is inertial impaction. So it occurs with large, fast-moving particles common in upper airways and first 10 generations. So, sabi dito, it happens when large, fast-moving particles collide with the airway walls, usually in the nose and throat. Ayan, sabi ba dito is more turbulence plus a small airway diameter equals more impaction. Then, the second is the gravitational settling or sedimentation. This mechanism naman, it depends on particle size plus time. So, it occurs when heavier particles settle in the lower lungs during slow and deep breaths. Yan. Higher in last 5 to 6 airway generations and breath hold increases peripheral deposition. So, kapag hinahold mo yung breath mo, mas nag-increase yung effect ng aerosol particles or ng medicine. Third is diffusion or the Brownian motion. It affects very small particles that ranges to less than 1 micrometer. Particle may stay suspended or be exhaled and limited role in drug delivery or little drug mass. So this physical mechanism, which is the diffusion, it affects very tiny particles, no, that moves randomly in the air. So yung mga ibang aerosol particles pwedeng magsettle sila in the alveoli, while yung ibang particles naman is pwede silang ma-exhale. Next. Next is temperature and humidity effect. Particles grow bigger when entering warm and humid air, hygroscopic particles absorb moisture and increases MMAD. Humidity can reduce drug delivery in ventilator circuits. So, uh, in this part naman, the temperature and humidity can change how aerosol particles behave. So, when the air is warm and moist, kumbaga, yung particles is pwede silang maka-absorb ng water, ganyan. Tapos pwede silang grow or mas lumaki yung particles. Kasi warm yung air. Kumbaga, um, malaki yung tendency na mag-absorb sila ng water, then lumaki yung particles, which pwede siyang maka-affect kung gaano kadip or kung gaano kalayo yung ita-travel ng particles dun sa airways natin. Then, in medical equipment naman, like ventilators, kapag masyadong mataas yung humidity, they can reduce how much medicine actually reaches the patient. Ayun. So, kailangan balance lang yung temperature and humidity effect. Like, for example, is if the patients Ayan. For example, if a patient's ventilator circuit is too humid, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, aerosol particles may stick together, becoming heavier and settling early in the tubing before reaching the lungs. So, yun yung mga epekto nung humidity and temperature. So, kapag masyadong warm, ganyan, pwedeng yung mga aerosol particles is maka-absorb sila ng water, which nagko-cause na pwedeng lumaki sila, pwede silang mag-grow larger, then maaring hindi sila makapag-penetrate ng mas malalim sa lungs natin. Then kapag sa humidity naman, pag masyadong mataas, pag mataas masyado yung humidity, hindi, kumbaga, nare-reduce yung pag-penetrate din ng aerosol particles sa lungs natin. Next. Next is the factors that affecting lung deposition. So, ayan, there are several factors that influence how much medicine actually reaches the lungs. First is the device type, patient technique, breathing pattern, and disease condition. Ayan, yung binanggit natin kanina na yung pag-deliver nung aerosol particles or nung medicine sa lungs natin is pwedeng magkakaiba because of the type of the device or kung huminga yung patient, masyado bang mabilis, masyado bang mabagal, or maaaring yung condition din, yung ano ba yung mayroon ba silang sakit, ano ba yung sakit nila, pwedeng maka-apekto yun, no? Kasi, for example, sa device type, may mga iba't ibang device, they produce different particle sizes. Yung mga nebulizers, mga metered dose inhalers, ganyan. Then, sa patient technique, pwedeng incorrect yung breathing or poor yung coordination. So, pwedeng lead yun into loss of medications. Then, yung breathing pattern, pwedeng mabagal siyang huminga, malalim yung paghinga niya, or masyadong mabilis, masyadong shallow, ganyan. Then, yun nga, sa disease condition, yung mga asthma, mga may bronchitis, they can produce penetration kasi nabablock yung airways nila. So, mahirap mag-penetrate yung aerosol particles. Ayan, yung mga small volume nebulizers lose medicine inside the device. And PMDIs and DPIs lose medicine in the mouth spacer help reduce this. So, for example, is yung mga patients who exhales immediately after using their inhaler, pwedeng babawasan yung mga medication na madedeposit sa lungs nila. Next. Ayan. Next is aerosol device comparison. Lung deposition varies from 1% to 40%. Loss differs among devices, throat device, or exhalation. Excuse me po. Newer designs aim to increase efficiency and reduce waste. So, in this, it explains that not all aerosol devices are equally efficient. So, pwedeng nakadepende kung ano yung type or kung paanong paano ginagamit ng patient yung device. So, yung devices, sabi dito, yung actual lung deposition is nagre-range siya from as low as 1% to 40%. So, yung mga modern devices, yung mga yung actual lung deposition, ayun, yung actual lung deposition, they range from as low as 1% to as high as 40%. And modern devices are now designed to reduce waste. They improve particle stability and patients to inhale correctly. For example, is yung mga dry powdered inhaler. So, kumbaga mas gumagana sila or mas nagwo-work sila kapag yung mga patient is nag-inhale sila ng mas malalim. While yung mga nebulizers naman, mas nagwo-work sila or mas nagiging useful sila kapag yung sa mga patients or sa mga bata na hindi sila nakakapag-generate ng strong breathing ganyan. So, merong mga aerosol devices kumbaga na may mga iba't ibang aerosol devices that na nakadepende kumbaga sa may mga kumbaga na yung merong iba't ibang aerosol devices na iba yung next slide po. Next is the safety review, monitoring, and regulation. For safety, new drugs undergo thorough testing and trials to ensure safety. They go through a range of cellular, animal, and human trials before they are approved. So kanina may mga na-discuss tayo na methods that ensures the safety of a new drugs. Then second is efficacy. The efficacy is assessed to gauge the drug's ability to treat diseases or alleviate symptoms. Then the dosage is closely monitored to prevent toxicity. So, the MHRA or the Medicine and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, sila yung executive agency that monitor the safety, efficacy, and dosage of the drugs na ginagamit for aerosol therapy. So they are sponsored by the Department of Health that oversees the regulation of medicine in the UK. So, yun nga, the administration for aerosol agents is okay na pala yun. ito yung agency na nagmo-monitor ng safety, efficacy, and dosage ng mga new drugs na um, inilalabas. No? For the next slide po, it will be discussed by Mr. Ancheta.
Ay, hindi nakikita yung mukha ko pag nagpe-present ako dito. Ano ba yan? Akala ko makikita na.
Paano garon?
Hindi siya nakikita kapag pinapanood ko yung doon sa may PPT. Tapos kapag ipunta ko siya sa may dito. Wait lang, picturean ko. Ano ba yan? Nagtatago siya. Papansin. Akala ko OA ko. Okay na siya kanina eh. Wait lang. Dito lang siya nakikita. Pero, pag nandito na siya. Ito ba? Ay, hindi. Wala
Kaya
ko.
ba?
Wala ako dyan. Ano? Wala. Ala, ako yung nagre-record kasi hindi ako nakikita.
Okay lang naman siguro.
Ayan, start ko na lang dito. Basta nilipat ko dito sa may sa may switch ng window na to. Nakikita na ako. Ma'am, nakikita mo ako. Isama ko to, ma'am. So, okay. Again, good day to everyone. So, ngayon naman, i-discuss ko ang nebulizers and inhalers, which are the devices used to deliver medications directly to the lungs. Pero nebulizer muna ang i-discuss ko. So, what is nebulizers? A nebulizer uses forced air to turn asthma medication into a fine mist so that it can easily be breathed into the lung. So, usually ginagamit ang nebulizers sa mga patient na hirap gumamit ng inhalers, like tulad ng mga bata and mga matatanda and yung mga patients na may severe asthma. And for some patients naman, and depending on their medication, nebulizers are the most effective way of delivering inhaled drugs. Dito para sa Okay, next is I will discuss the small volume nebulizer. So SVN is a type of aerosol generator that converts liquid drug solutions or suspensions into aerosol. So they are mainly used for asthma, COPD, and other lung conditions where patients need direct medications to the lungs. So they are especially helpful sa mga bata ulit and mga elderly patients and sa mga patients na who cannot properly use an inhaler. So there are three types of small volume nebulizers: the jet pneumatic, mesh, and ultrasonic nebulizers. First, discuss muna natin yung jet pneumatic nebulizer. A jet pneumatic nebulizers are small reservoir, gas-powdered aerosol generators, also referred to as handheld nebulizer or as updraft nebulizers or unit dose nebulizers. So, ibig sabihin, ang jet nebulizer is gumagamit sila ng compressed air or oxygen para gawing aerosol yung medication and ito yung isa sa pinaka traditional na nebulizer na madalas nating nakikita sa wards na ginagamit ng mga patient. Itong jet pneumatic nebulizer. And then, next naman is yung jet nebulizer with reservoir tube. So, this nebulizer is the traditional least expensive, and most widely used nebulizer in which aerosol is produced constantly during inspiration, expiration, and breath hold. So, this type of jet nebulizer, yung aerosol, continuous siyang nagpo-flow. So, ibig sabihin, may lumalabas na aerosol kahit na during expiration or naka-breath hold yung patient. So, may downside ang paggamit ng jet nebulizer with reserva tube. So, ang downside niya is may medication wastage siya. Kasi during expiration, may lumalabas pa ring aerosol. So, maraming nasasayang na aerosol kapag ginamit natin tong jet nebulizer with reserva tube. And the third one is the jet nebulizer with collection bag. So this nebulizer produces aerosol by continuously filling a collection bag. And no aerosol is lost during expiration because of a one-way inspiratory valve in between the nebulizer and the mouthpiece. So dito naman, yung aerosol is naiipon muna siya doon sa may collection bag before pa ma-inhale nung patient yung medication. And then, kaya walang nasasayang na aerosol medication during expiration because meron siyang one-way valve. So, this increases efficiency and it is helpful for patients with weak inspiratory effort or those needing maximum medication deposition in the lungs. Ay, meron pa pala. Next is the breath-enhanced jet nebulizer. So this nebulizers allows more aerosol release during inspiration with decreased output during exhalation or breath hold through two one-way valves used to prevent the loss of aerosol to the environment. So ito, meron siyang two one-way na valve. So dito, nagbabawas yung aerosol output niya during exhalation or breath hold, kaya mas konti naman yung gamot na nasasayang sa environment when using breath-enhanced jet nebulizer. And this improves the delivery efficiency and ginagamit tong nebulizer na to ng patients with moderate asthma or COPD na nagbe-benefit sa gantong type ng jet nebulizer. Next. Ayan. Next naman is yung breath-actuated jet nebulizer. So this type of nebulizer release aerosol only during inspiration because they are designed to increase aerosol drug delivery to patients by reducing loss of medication during expiration. So, nakalagay naman na dyan na nare-reduce yung drug loss during exhalation. So, making it ideal sa mga patient na dun sa mga patient na who need precise dosing, like yung mga patients na may cystic fibrosis, mga mga children, and of course yung mga adults na capable of coordinating sa paghinga. Yun ang breath-actuated jet nebulizer. Okay, so may two types yung breath-actuated nebulizer. First is yung manual breath-actuated jet nebulizer. So, when we say manual kasi, nako-control siya ng patient control siya. So, it represents the first generation of breath-actuated nebulizers. which regulates aerosol production during inspiration and expiration through a patient-controlled tamper. So, yung itsura ng manual breath-actuated jet nebulizer is ganito siya. Wait. Ayan. So, as you can see dito, dun sa taas na picture, dun sa may taas, tinakpan yung port para during inspiration para lumabas yung aerosol doon sa may taas. Ay, di ko alam kung anong pangalan yan. Then, during expiration naman, ire-release niya yung thumb niya para mag-stop yung pag-release nung aerosol medication. Yan yung manual breath actuated jet nebulizer. So, balik tayo dun sa na slide. So, next is yung mechanical breath actuated jet nebulizer. This nebulizer have a breath-actuated valve that is triggered by patients creating an inspiratory force. So, ibig sabihin lang nito is may valve daw siya na, excuse me, na natitrigger siya automatic kahit pa, automatic siyang natitrigger sa paghinga ng patient. So, ganito yung itsura ng mechanical breath-actuated jet nebulizer. Okay na yan. Okay, next naman na tayo is sa my mesh nebulizer. So, this nebulizer use a plate or mesh with multiple apertures, which is yung mga maliliit na butas, to move the liquid formulations through a fine mesh to generate aerosol. So, itong mesh nebulizer, they are quiet, portable, and efficient siya. So, they are commonly used for home therapy and chronic asthma, COPD, and cystic fibrosis patients, especially dun sa mga bata at elderly. Ito yung type ng nebulizer na ginagamit nila. And there are two types of mesh nebulizers, the active vibrating mesh nebulizer and passive mesh nebulizer. So, discuss natin yung first. So, an active vibrating mesh nebulizers have an aperture plate with 1,000 to 4,000 funnel-shaped holes on an electroform sheet that is vibrated by a piezo ceramic element that surrounds the aperture plate. So, kita nyo dito sa may, nazo-zoom ba to? Wait lang, share. Ayan. So, the aperture plate vibrates using a vibrational element named yung piezo ceramic element na nagpro-produce ng aerosol efficiently. So, it is ideal for patients needing quick, accurate dosing in chronic lung disease management. So, these are known for high efficiency and low medication wastage, yung active vibrating mesh nebulizer. And the next is yung passive mesh nebulizers. So this mesh nebulizers is an ultrasonic horn to push fluid through the mesh. The newest generation of passive mesh nebulizer is the adaptive aerosol delivery or yung AAD system, such as the INEB. So, ang example nitong passive mesh nebulizer is yung AAD system like yung INEB na nagde-deliver ng aerosol based dun sa patient's breathing pattern that is suitable for home therapy. Yun ang use ng passive mesh nebulizer. And next type of small volume nebulizer is yung ultrasonic nebulizers. USNs are electrically powered devices operating on the piezoelectric principle and capable of high output. Particle sizes vary in brand. So, yung USN naman, nakakapag-produce sila ng high aerosol output. Pero, ang particle size niya is nagva-vary depende dun sa brand ng ultrasonic nebulizer. And ano to? And may ilang mga medications na hindi compatible dito sa ultrasonic nebulizers. And they are mainly used in hospitals for severe asthma and COPD patients na kailangan ng continuous or high dose na therapy. So, they are using ultrasonic nebulizers. So, ayan. Ganyan yung itsura ng ultrasonic nebulizer. Like, ito. Yan. Wow. Ayan. So, tapos na tayo sa types ng nebulizers. So, ngayon naman, we will discuss inhalers. So, inhalers are handheld portable devices that can deliver medication directly to the lungs. So, these inhalers use a chemical propeller to force a measured dose of medication out of the inhaler. So these inhalers are mainly used for quick relief or maintenance therapy like asthma and COPD patients din. Gumagamit din sila ng inhalers. Okay, unlike nung nebulizer, yung inhalers kasi is gumagamit siya ng chemical propellant para makapag-release or ma-measure niya yung dose na ide-deliver sa lungs natin. And mas portable to kaysa sa nebulizer. So there are two types of inhaler. The pressurized metered dose inhaler and the dry powder inhalers. First is yung PMDIs. Ayan. So PMDIs are devices, these devices are most commonly aerosol generators prescribed for patients with asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. They are small pressurized canister for all oral or nasal inhalation of aerosol drugs and contain multiple doses of accurately metered drug. So, yung PMDIS is nakakapag-deliver siya ng accurate na dose for medication. So this inhaler is ideal siya sa mga patients na sa mga patients na kaya makipag-coordinate sa pag-press at pag-inhale nung inhaler. Next is ayan. So meron siyang 5 major components yung pressurized metered dose inhalers. First is yung canister. As you can see dito, yung canister, and i-zoom ko lang. Over sa zoom. Sorry. Ayan. Yung canister, diyan nakalagay yung gamot. And then next naman na components nito is yung propellant. Ayan, nakalagay dyan. Drug or propellant. Ito naman, yan yung nagpapa-out ng gamot or yung pinipindot. Wait lang. Yan yung nagpapalabas ng gamot kapag pinipindot yung canister, yung propellant. And then next is yung drug formulary, which is yun yung actual na gamot na nade-deliver sa lungs natin. And then next is yung metering valve. Yung metering valve naman is yan yung yan yung make sure na bawat spray nung gamot is may tamang dose siya. Tama yung dose na nai-spray nung gamot. Yun yung ginagawa ng metering valve. And last is yung actuator. Yung actuator. So, yan naman yung isa sa pinipindot ulit ng patient para lumabas mismo yung gamot. And, binibilang niya din yung yung kung ilang dose yung lumalabas sa may inhaler. Yun yung types ng, yan yung 5 major components ng pressurized metered dose inhalers. So, ayan, yung table na to, parang summary lang yung sinabi ko ng table na to. Yun na yun. Okay, so meron ding types of pressurized metered dose inhalers. First is yung conventional metered dose inhaler and the breath-actuated metered dose inhalers. Inhalers, yan, mali. Kulang yung lagay ko. Ayan, discuss natin yung conventional metered dose inhaler. Okay, so conventional metered dose inhaler has a press and breathe design. So the components of the conventional PMDI, including canister, medication, propellant or excipient, metering valve, mouthpiece, and actuator. So, as you can see dito sa may slide, sabi niya meron siyang press and breathe design. Meaning, the patient must coordinate by pressing the canister while inhaling. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng press and breathe design dito sa may conventional metered dose inhaler. Pero ang downside na hindi naman siya downside, like sa ibang patients kasi is nahihirapan silang gamitin itong conventional metered dose inhalers. So, so this device naman is used sa rescue or maintenance ng therapy para sa mga asthma and COPD patients. Excuse me. And then next is the breath-actuated metered dose inhaler. So, it is a type of device to simply MDI use. Mali yung basa ko, simplify pala. Sorry, ulit. Next is the breath-actuated metered dose inhaler. So, this is a type of device to simplify MDI use. Is a breath-actuated adapter. So breath-actuated inhalers offers an alternative for individuals who find it difficult to coordinate PMDI actuation with inhalation. So, ang nangyayari dito is yung medication is nare-release siya automatically during inhalation. So, making it ideal sa mga patients who have poor hand-lung coordination. So, ibig sabihin nito, hindi na pinipindot nung patient yung ano na kasi ito yung pinipindot doon sa may taas kanina. Hindi niya na pinipindot yung canister habang humihinga siya dahil tong breath-actuated metered dose inhaler is automatic ng automatic na siyang gumagana kapag humihinga na yung patient. Hindi na kailangan mag-coordinate nung kamay niya doon sa may canister. And then, so, yung use naman nito is same lang din doon sa may conventional na metered dose inhaler na it is for patients with asthma and COPD. Okay, so let's proceed na sa may dry powder inhalers. So a DPI is similar to a PMDI except that the drug is in powdered form. So it is easier to use than the conventional pressurized MDI because hand-lung coordination isn't required. So no chemical propel medication released by breathing in more quickly with a traditional MDI. So, ibig sabihin nito na mas madali talaga siyang gamitin kasi doon sa may pressurized metered dose inhalers is kailangan pa ng coordination ng kamay natin at yung sa paghinga natin. While dito is hindi na. So, ginagamit pala ang dry powder inhaler sa patients na kailangan ng maintenance therapy sa asthma and COPD. Okay, there are also types of dry powder inhalers. The unit dose dry powder inhalers, multiple unit dose dry powder inhalers, and multiple dose dry powder inhalers. Wait, so yung purpose pala nitong tatlong types ng powdered inhalers na to is they are all for delivering powdered medication efficiently. Depende sa frequency ng dose at convenience ng patient ang paggamit ng tong tatlong type ng dry powder inhalers. Ayan, first, let's discuss yung unit dose dry powder inhalers. So, unit dose or tinatawag nating single dose is have individually wrapped capsules that contain a single dose of medication and deliver powder medication from a punctured capsule. So, unit dose dry powder inhalers is usually ginagamit siya sa hospitals or clinic settings kasi precise yung one-time dose ng paggamit nitong DPI na to. And ginagamit siya sa mga patients with acute therapy or patients na kailangan ng exact na single dose medication. Kaya siya tinawag din na unit dose. Next is yung multiple unit dose dry powder inhalers. This type of DPI is dispersed individual doses that are pre-metered into blisters. The blisters is mechanically punctured when the cover is lifted. So, kapag nag-lift kasi yung ano dito, yung itong multiple unit dose dry powder, kapag nag-lift yung cover nitong type ng DPI na to is inaalaw niya na ma-inhale nung patient yung powdered na medication. So, it is ginagamit ang multiple unit dose dry powders sa patients na kailangan ng consistent and pre-measured doses and easy to use itong multiple unit dose sa bahay. And last is yung multiple dose dry powder inhalers. Ito naman, it measures the dose either from a powder reservoir or from blister strips prepared by the manufacturers. Ito naman, very convenient siya kasi for long-term therapy, ginagamit itong multiple dose dry powder inhalers kasi they contain multiple dose in one device. And Yung strips dito, wait lang. Yung multiple doses from this reservoir or blister strip is reusable. Kaya siya pang long term talaga. And then, it is very convenient in daily use and ginagamit ito sa patients na wait it is used sa mga patients na may chronic asthma or COPD who are capable of proper inhalation. So, okay. In summary naman nung na-discuss, nebulizers, ay wait, naka-off cam. Kala mo naman nakikita ako. Hindi naman. Okay, so in summary lang nung mga na-discuss, so nebulizers are best for patients who are very young, elderly, or acutely ill. While yung mga inhalers naman are ideal for stable patients who need convenient long-term control of respiratory disease. So, to discuss pa yung iba pang topics, let's welcome Miss Hermohino.
So let's move on to the clinical applications of aerosol devices. There are so many devices that choosing can be overwhelming. To make good decisions, we rely on evidence from studies. What matters most is how these devices perform in real life or in clinical situations. So the first one is the aerosol delivery of short-acting beta-2 agonists in the emergency department, which is yung metered dose inhaler daw plus the holding chamber as effective as nebulizer. Both improve symptoms and lung functions. Dry powdered inhaler used in emergency department is limited due to insufficient data. Sa emergency room, parehong effective ang MDI na may spacer at nebulizer. Wala talagang malaking pinagkaiba sa resulta ng pasyente, so ibig sabihin kahit alin ang gamitin mo na devices, basta available at mas convenient sa situations ay okay lang. So, number 2, next slide. Number 2 is the aerosol delivery of short-acting beta-2 agonists in the hospital situation naman. So, there is no significant difference talaga between the MDI with chamber, nebulizer, and the DPI. Kapag naka-admit na sa hospital ang pasyente, walang significant difference sa lung function improvement kung MDI, nebulizer, or DPI ang gagamitin. Kaya, pinipili ang device base sa kung ano ang kayang gamitin ng pasyente at kung ano ang mas comfortable sa kanila. Next slide. Number 3 is the intermittent versus the continuous nebulizer delivery of beta-2 agonist. There's no difference in lung function or asthma scores. No difference in adverse effects, and also continuous therapy requires more monitoring. In here naman, so kapag dating sa intermittent continuous nebulization, wala rin talagang malaking clinical difference sa effect ng gamot. Ang kahibahan lang ay mas maraming equipment at monitoring ang kailangan kapag continuous yung nebulization ng isang patient. So, next slide. The fourth one is the aerosol delivery of beta-2 agonists to patients receiving the mechanical ventilation. Evidence shows similar outcomes with metered dose inhalers versus the nebulizer. Holding a chamber improves MDI delivery or choose based on availability and patient-specific needs. Sa mga pasyente na naka-mechanical ventilator, effective pareho ang MDI at ang may holding na chamber at yung nebulizer kapag nagbibigay ka ng bronchodilators. Mas mahalaga dito ang tamang setup at technique, hindi kung ano ang device na gagamitin mo sa may pasyente mo. So, hindi kung anong device ang ginamit. Next slide. So we have naman dito sa aerosol delivery of short-acting beta-2 agonists for asthma in the outpatient setting. Little difference between the MDI, DPI, or nebulizer. Selection based on patient technique and holding chamber improves MDI performance. Sa outpatient setting, tulad ng clinic or bahay, pare-pareho lang naman talaga ang performance ng MDI, DPI at nebulizer. Ang pinaka-importante lang talaga ay yung tamang paggamit natin ng mga inhaler. Kadalasan, MDI na may spacer ang recommended kasi nga parang mas napapabuti nito yung drug delivery, lalo na kapag yung mga pasyente mo ay hirap sa coordination. Next slide. We have the delivery of inhaled corticosteroids for asthma. MDI with the holding chamber is equals to DPI effectiveness. Lung function scores similar across devices. Para sa mga inhaled corticosteroids, hindi nagbabago ang bisa ng gamot kahit anumang delivery device ang gagamitin mo. So, ang mahalaga lang naman dito ay regular yung paggamit at tama yung technique na ginagawa ng patient para parehong effective ang DPI at MDI na may chamber. And then, next slide. So we have naman the last is the delivery of beta-2 agonists and anticholinergic agents for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. There is no major difference between MDI, nebulizer, and DPI. Choose based on patient-specific ability and the preference. Ang pinapakita ng study na to na wala ding talagang malaking difference sa effect ng bronchodilators kung MDI, DPI, o nebulizer ang gagamitin. Kaya ang pagpili ng mga device ay dapat nakabase sa kakayahan ng pasyente, comfort, tapos yung preference nila. Next slide. So let's move on to the factors na need natin i-consider. The first one is the patient or clinical preference. Mahalaga ba kung ano yung mahalaga? Ulit. So here, factors to consider. The first one is the patient or clinical preference. Mahalaga kung ano yung komportableng gagamitin ng mga pasyente at yung kapag sinabi ng mga clinicians mo. Number 2 is the convenience of device. Gaano ba ito kadaling dalhin o gamitin araw-araw? 3. The practicality of device. Kung angkop ba ang disenyo ng device ayon dun sa sitwasyon ng pasyente. The fourth one is the durability of device. Kung gaano ba ito katagal masira or kung kailan ito papalitan. The cost and the reimbursement, kasama rito yung halaga ng device o kung sakop ba ito ng insurance or yung mga health benefits ng patient. Drug availability, kung madali lang bang mabili ito, yung gamot na yon na kailangan dun sa device na need ng patient. And then the last one is the ability of all prescribed drugs to be delivered by same device. Kung kaya ba nilang ilagay ang lahat ng iba't ibang iniresetang gamot dun sa iisang device na binili nila. Next slide. So let's move on to the lung deposition with mga traditional devices. So, let's move on to the lung deposition with traditional device. So, according to this, yung traditional aerosol devices daw ay kaya niyang mag-deliver ng 10 to 15% of those to lungs. And also, meron daw siyang large drug loss in mouth, stomach, and device. Next slide. So, comparing the inhaler devices, there are three main types of devices for breathing medicine. The first one, we have the metered dose inhaler. The second one, we have the dry powdered inhaler. And then the third one is our small volume nebulizer. Even if the devices are different, they generally deliver roughly the same percentage of the medicine to your lungs, around 10%. However, the actual amount of medicine loaded into each device is usually different. The first one, ano nga ba yung ating mga metered dry inhaler? The metered dry inhaler is ito yung may pressure canister na naglalabas siya ng eksaktong dose ng gamot kada puff. And then the DPI, ito yung hinihigop mismo ng pasyente. Hindi siya spray. And then the small volume nebulizer, ito yung ginagawang mist ang liquid medicine at hinihinga ng pasyente gamit ang mask or di kaya mouthpiece sa loob ng ilang minuto. Then we have the 10% rule. Maraming may akala na yung isang device ay mas malakas kaysa sa isa. Pero yung totoo, pare-pareho lang naman talaga sila. Kahit magkaiba man yung itsura o yung paraan ng paggamit, around 10% lang din naman yung umaabot sa lungs natin. Yung natitira, maybe pupunta sa bibig, sa lalamunan, o naiiwan mismo sa device. So, bakit ba magkakaiba ang mga dosage? Dahil alam natin na 10% lang ang kaya na ma-deliver or yung ma-reach sa lungs natin. Kaya, wait lang, mali. Bakit magkakaiba ang dose? Dahil alam natin na 10% lang naman yung nakakaabot sa lungs natin, kaya magkakaiba yung starting dose ng bawat device. Halimbawa, yung nebulizer, kailangan natin ng mas malaking dose. Karaniwan 2.5 micrograms kasi nga, mas marami yung nasasayang. Samantalang kapag MDI naman, sobrang concentrated nung gamot, kaya kahit maliit na puff, sapat na yung epekto nito dun sa pasyente. And then, next slide. We have this dose loss patterns by device. Ito yung mga binanggit ko kanina na sakop ng mga traditional na devices natin na ginagamit. So we have the metered dose inhaler na major loss in mouth and stomach. The second one is the small nebulizer, and the third one is the dry powder inhaler. Next slide. So, ito yung mga dose gap na MDI versus nebulizer. Yung standard dose difference nila, yung nebulizer daw ay karaniwan na nag-start with a 12 times more medicine than a puffer. Yung MDI is 2 puff is equals to 0.2 microgram of medicine. And while the nebulizer, 2.5 micrograms of medicine naman. So, what reaches the lungs? If 10% lang naman yung inare-reach sa lungs natin, the MDI gives you the 20 grams, while the nebulizer gives you 250 grams. So, the equipotent dose, ano nga ba yan? Ayan yung dose of each device na need to get the same medical result. Next slide. Which device is most efficient? A study by Zainuddin compared all 3 devices using the exact same dose for 100 grams, micrograms, to see which was most efficient. So the lung delivery results, the MDI is 11.2% reach the lungs, the nebulizer 9.9%, and yung dry powdered inhaler natin ay may 9.1%. Sa study na to, kung saan pareho lang naman yung dose na binibigay ng tatlong device, lumalabas na MDI yung pinaka-efficient. Mga 11% ng gamot ang napunta sa lungs at ito rin yung nagbigay ng malaking improvement. So, kahit effective lahat, MDI yung pinaka-technically, pinaka-efficient sa study ni Zainuddin. So, here, hindi lang ito tungkol sa machine. Efficiency is also important. Habang mas gumagawa yung ating technology, mas kaunting gamot ang kailangan para makuha yung parehong ginhawa o yung pareho lang yung mararamdaman. Mali siya. Ulit. So, wag ko na sabihin yun. Wag na. Ayoko na. So, here we have the graph. Sa graph, makikita mo yung tatlong devices, which is the MDI, the DPI, at yung ating nebulizer. Yung blue bar na nakikita natin dyan ay ang lung deposition. Ito kung gaano karaming gamot yung talagang napupunta sa lungs ng pasyente. Tapos yung isang bar naman, ayan yung kung gaano kaganda yung improvement na naibigay niya. So the diagram or the bar na yaan, MDI yung pinaka effective kasi nga may pinakamataas siya na lung deposition at yung improvement. Pero yung tatlong device ay gumagana talaga, pero mas angat lang yung effectiveness ng metered dose sa inhaler kaysa dun sa 2 other devices. Sa lahat ng case kasi, less than 12,000 lang yung gamot na umaabot talaga sa ating baga. Next slide. So, the lung deposition with newer aerosol device. So, sabi nga natin, dun sa traditional device, 10 to 15% lang yung umaabot sa lungs natin. Pero dito sa newer aerosol devices, it can deliver 30 to 50% sa ating baga. Also, it less systematic absorption, mas safe siya, more efficient, lower din yung minimal doses na kailangan niya. Then, makikita natin dyan sa graph na ang newer devices ay mas efficient kumpara dun sa traditional devices natin. For example, may bago kang MDI na kayang mag-deliver ng mahigit na 50% ng gamot sa lungs. So, dahil dyan, kailangan mong bawasan yung dosage nun para maiwasan mo yung mga toxic effects or di kaya yung mga side effects na maaring mangyari sa'yo. Then the next slide. Clinical equivalence of metered dose inhalers and nebulizers. Small volume nebulizer are still frequently used in emergency settings. A growing body of research suggests that metered dose inhaler with spacers is just as effective. Meta-analysis shows no clinical significance. Mali! Difference. Meta-analysis shows no clinical difference between the two methods for treating acute airflow obstruction. And in this, yung nebulizer natin ay matagal nang ginagamit sa ER. Lalo na kapag yung may mga pasyente natin ay nagsasuffer from acute distress. Pero base sa recent studies ni na Amirab at Newhouse, lumabas na ang MDI na may spacer ay kasing effective lang ng nebulizer. Sa madaling salita, ang best device ay yung available na kayang gamitin ng pasyente ng tama. And pinapakita dito sa table natin na effective yung MDI sa lahat ng edad, mapa premature infants hanggang adults. Kahit mas mababa yung dose ng MDI natin, pareho pa rin yung effect dahil mas maganda ang lung deposition lalo na kapag may holding chamber yung device. Malinaw na yung MDI spacer natin ay hindi siya second choice lang. Pantay ito sa nebulizer kahit sa emergency department. Sa mga bata kasi, kailangan ng face mask at yung reserva. Bukod sa effective kasi ito, mas mabilis, mas komportable yung pasyente at mas practical sa kanila yung MDI, lalo na kapag yung pasyente ay biglang nag-discharge. And then, next slide. So we have the age guidelines for your aerosol delivery devices. In this table, makikita natin na may mga specific na edad sa mga aerosol na gagamitin ng pasyente. Hindi lang basta kung ano-ano yung ginagamit sa kanila, kundi meron talagang specific na device sa kanilang edad. So, the first one is yung may ito yung mga pasyente na 2 years old pababa. A nebulizer, kadalasan yung ginagamit talaga o yung pinapagamit sa kanila. Para naman sa 4 years old pababa, MDI naman yung gagamitin nila pero kailangan nila ng reserva at yung face mask. Kapag 5 years old pataas naman, kaya na nilang gamitin yung DPI, which breath acuity. Pag 5 years old pataas, kadalasan kaya na nilang gamitin yung dry powder inhaler with acute MDI o di kaya yung MDI lang. Next slide. So, dito sa ating IPPB, hindi na siya masyadong ginagamit kapag yung pasyente natin ay hindi talaga kayang huminga ng maayos o di kaya hindi niya na kayang huminga ng maayos na mag-isa. The second one is the face mask administration. This is useful for infants, small children, debilitated patients. Lower din yung lung deposition niya ay mali. Lower deposition than mouthpiece. Also, proper muscles essential and may increase the systemic absorption. Ang face mask talaga natin ay kadalasan talagang ginagamit sa mga infant, sa mga pasyente na unconscious o hindi nila kayang makakapit dun sa mouthpiece. Pero sa adults at older kids, mas maganda ang mouthpiece para sa kanila. Kasi ang mask ay pwedeng magdulot kasi ng more side effects, di tulad ng tremors dahil mas maraming gamot yung nasisipsip ng katawan natin. And then, that is example of yung face mask natin. And then, next slide. The last one is the endotracheal tube administration. Efficiency depends on the tube size, humidity, ventilator pattern, and withhold flow. Kapag naka-ventilator yung mga pasyente natin, mas mahirap mag-deliver ng aerosol kasi nga mas maliit na tube, mas mahirap makapasok ng gamot. Tapos kapag naman sobra yung humidity, ay pwedeng magdikit yung gamot dun sa ating tube. And then, kaya mas mahalaga na tama yung timing ng ventilator breaths at yung breath hold para mas manatili yung gamot dun sa lungs natin. Next slide. Here, ito yung mga variables ng aerosol devices delivery para sa mga intubated mechanically. Mali. Itong slide na to ay mga variables na aerosol delivery para sa mga intubated at mechanically ventilated na mga patient. The first one is the ventilator. As a ventilator, first take a look dun sa ating ventilator settings. Ang Spire... Hala! Mali! Wait. Okay. Take a look dun sa ating ventilator settings. Ang inspirometry inspiratory. First, tingnan natin yung ventilator settings. Ang inspiratory flow pattern at yung duty cycles which enclose the flow, the volume, tapos yung rate ay nagde-determine kung paano dadaloy yung aerosol dun sa circuit. Tapos, mahalaga rin naman na alam natin kung ano yung mode of ventilation at kung ano yung breath ba ay spontaneous, assisted, or controlled dahil nagbabago yung pressure at yung flow depende dyan. Then, dapat din natin na i-consider yung size ng endotracheal tube natin at yung position ng generator sa loob ng circuit. Kasi nga, small tubes can act as barrier to the drug. And then yung humidification natin at yung temperature ay pwede ding maging sanhi para mag-rain out o di kaya mag-condense yung gamot sa tubing bago pa ito makarating sa pasyente. And then, the aerosol generator small volume nebulizer. Pagdating naman sa mga nebulizer, kailangan din natin i-check yung nebulizer power system at yung power flow rate nito. Even yung brand at yung intra-product ay even the brand and the intra-product reliability matter. Hindi kasi lahat ng nebulizer ay pare-pareho yung performance niya. Kasama rin sa dito yung volume of fill type, kasama din dito yung volume of fill at type ng solution, pati na kung ano yung choice between the continuous versus the intermittent delivery. And then, the third naman is the meter dose inhaler. Ito yung para sa mga MDI, ito yung pinaka-critical na factor na meter dose inhaler. Ito yung isa sa may pinaka-critical factor ay yung timing of actuation niya. Kailangan kasi itong itapat sa simula ng inspiratory para maximum yung delivery niya. And then, it also required din yung paggamit ng reserva device o nung spacer para hindi agad mag-settle yung gamot dun sa walls ng tube niya. And then lastly, ito yung type of drug use na nakaka-apekto rin sa effectiveness ng aerosol therapy. To sum it up, kailangan balanse ang ventilator settings at yung choice ng aerosol generator para masigurado natin na prescribe yung dose na talagang makukuha ng mga pasyente natin, lalo na nagsasuffer sa mga To sum it up, kailangan balanse yung ventilator settings at yung choice ng aerosol generator para masigurado yung prescribed dose ay talagang makukuha ng ating mga critical care na pasyente. And that's it for the aerosolized agent.